So it was this fella whose name was Dave, and he was kind of a verbose, braggart kind of guy. And one day in front of his boss, he was saying, "I know everybody." And the boss says, "No, you don't." He says, "Yeah, I do. I know everybody." He says, "Prove it." He says, "Do you know Brad Pitt?" Guy says, "Sure, I know Brad Pitt." "All right, let's take a ride. We'll go to Brad Pitt's house and see if he knows you." So they drive to Hollywood. He knocks on the door. Brad Pitt opens the door. "Hey, Dave, I haven't seen you in a long time. Come on in, have a cold one." So the boss is impressed, but still not sure. Says, "Do you know the president?" "Yeah, I know the president." So they drive to the White House, and they're in the tour line, and President Biden passes by and says, "Hey, Dave, I didn't know you were here. Come on into the Oval Office. Camilla was just talking about you." So the boss is really getting impressed, but still kind of concerned that he doesn't know everybody. So he says, "Dave, do you know the Pope?" Dave says, "Yeah, I know the Pope." So they fly to Italy, and they're in the Vatican Square. Thousands of people are there, and they're waiting for the Pope to come out on the balcony. And Dave says, "The Pope is not going to see me in all this crowd. I've got to go upstairs, and when you see me come out on the balcony with the Pope, you'll know that I know him." So a few minutes later, the door is open, and the Pope is holding Dave's hand, and they come out on the balcony, and the crowd goes wild. And Dave nods and waves, comes back down, and he's looking for his boss, and they're taking the boss away in an ambulance. He says, "I just had a heart attack." "Well, why did you have a heart attack?" He says, "Well, there was this little old Italian man standing next to me, and when you came out on the balcony, he tapped me on the shoulder, and he says, 'Who's that guy on the balcony with Dave?'"
Good one.
An elderly woman was in the doctor's office, and she said, "Doctor, I need a birth control pill prescription." He says, "Lady, you're 72 years old. Why would you need a birth control prescription? You can't get pregnant." She says, "Well, because it'll help me sleep better." He says, "Why will birth controls help you sleep better?" "Well, every morning I put one in my granddaughter's orange juice, and it helps me sleep better." Two old ladies were playing cards. They played cards like this every Sunday for 50 years. And one looks at the other and says, "I think I forgot your name. What's your name?" The other one stares at her for about 2 or 3 minutes, and she says, "How soon do you need to know?" There's an old lady, and she's sitting on a park bench, and she's crying. And a couple stops by and say, "What's wrong?" She says, "Oh, it's awful. I have a 22-year-old boyfriend. He wakes up in the morning and he cooks me breakfast and brings it to me in bed. Then he makes a sumptuous lunch. And then he cleans the house, does the laundry, and then he makes me dinner. Then he makes love to me 3 times a night. So why are you crying?" "I forgot where I live." A lady is watching an evangelist healing program on TV, so she's following the instructions, and the guy says, "Put your hand on the TV," and she puts her hand on the TV. "Now put your other hand on the part that hurts." She puts her hand on the part that hurts. "Now heal." And she says, "Oh my God, the pain is gone. My arthritis pain is gone." So her husband says, let me try that. So he puts his hand on the TV. He puts his other hand on his crotch. And the lady bursts out laughing. She says, it's a healing thing, not wake up the dead. An old couple is in for a medical exam, and the husband is complaining to the doctor, I don't understand it. He says, the first time I have sex with my wife, it's all hot and sweaty. He says, and then later on, the second time, I'm cold and I'm shivering. The doctor said, well, maybe your wife can shed light on this. So we asked the wife, and she says, that old duff, the first time is in July and August, the second time is in December. Now, I have something a little different today. And you all know that there's an election coming up. And one of the big things in this election is the economy. So we have a few different kinds of economy in the world, and we're going to go over them. A Democrat. You have 2 cows. Your neighbor has none. You feel guilty for being so successful, so you ask the government to give your neighbor 2 cows. Barbra Streisand sings for you. Republican. You have 2 cows. Your neighbor has none. So what's your point? Who cares? Socialist. You have 2 cows. The government takes one and gives it to your neighbor. You form a cooperative and tell him how to manage his cow. Communist. You have 2 cows. The government seizes both and provides you with the milk. You wait in line for hours to get it, and it's expensive and sour. Totalitarianism. You have 2 cows. The government takes both and shoots you. Capitalism, American style. You have 2 cows. You sell one, you buy a bull, and build a herd of cows. Bureaucracy, American style. You have 2 cows. Under the new farm program, the government pays you to shoot one, milk the other, and then pours the milk down the drain.
Oh, God.
Corporate America. You have 2 cows. You sell one, lease it back to yourself, and do an IPO. That's an initial public offering. You force the 2 cows to produce the milk of 4 cows. You were surprised when 1 cow drops dead. You spin an announcement to the analyst stating that you have downsized and are reducing your expenses. Your stock goes up. France. You have 2 cows. You go on strike because you want 3 cows. You go to lunch and drink wine, life is good. Japan. You have 2 cows. You redesign them so they're 1/10 the size of an ordinary cow and produce 20 times the milk. They learn to travel on unbelievably crowded trains. Most are on the top of their class in cow school. Germany. You have 2 cows. You bioengineer them so they are blonde and drink lots of beer. Italy. You have 2 cows but don't know where they are. While ambling around looking for them, you see a beautiful woman, you break for lunch, life is good. Russia. You have 2 cows, you drink some vodka, you count them and discover you have 5 cows. You have some more vodka. And then you find out you have 42 cows. The mafia shows up and takes over how many cows you really have. The Taliban. You have all the cows in Afghanistan, which are 2. You don't milk them because you cannot touch any of the creature's private parts. You get a $40 million grant from the U.S. government to find alternatives to milk production, but use the money to buy weapons. Iraq. You have 2 cows. They go into hiding. They send tape recordings of their mooing. This one coming up is my favorite. Poland. You have 2 bulls. Employees are regularly maimed and killed attempting to milk them. Belgium. You have 1 cow. This cow is schizophrenic. Sometimes the cow thinks she's French, other times she's Flemish. The Flemish cow won't share with the French cow. The French cow wants control of the Flemish cow's milk. The cow asks permission to be cut in half. And that would be it.
Awesome. Wonderful.
Don't forget to vote.
Yeah.
Yeah, for